Hello, I'm Debbie Polachek. I am a Stampin' Up demonstrator. Welcome to my channel. Today we are going to be painting and stamping on fabric. Actually, we won't be able to use our inks on this project, so we'll be using acrylic paints. And so to see how we can do that, just keep watching. Let's get started. Okay, now I'm going to use, I have re-inked my Stays On ink not too long ago. I think I'll check it, make sure it's okay. It does okay. So now for the real thing here. There's some paper underneath there. Now, how well will this hold up? I'm not real sure. I know before I've tried it in the past and it seems like it holds up okay as far as you washing it. Probably not the best in the world, so probably what would be our best bet is to paint it real good. And I'm going to use paint rather than ink because ink will not hold up. I know that for sure. Okay. Forever Blooms, that's the name of the stamp set. I'm going to use acrylic paint and water to do this. I'm going to use burnt umber. Well, they call it pearl. Peak chiffon rose, spring green, and the apple barrel. Now, any acrylic paint will work. It doesn't matter what it is. Acrylic paint's acrylic paint. Even if it's house paint, this would work. What I did, first thing I did, I took one of our nice little paint brushes, the water ones, poured all the water out. Make sure you pour all the water out. And for me, the hardest thing is to keep the paint off of everything where it's supposed to be. Then I poured out the paints. That I think I'm going to use. I decided I'm not going to use the purple. So I'm going to have a dark, a light, and the green. Take water and thin out this paint. I want it, and some good scraps would be nice. And I would recommend you do this on a scrap first before you actually try to do your, so you can get, the hardest thing about painting is getting the correct consistency of the paint. When it's too dry or too thick, it won't glide on well. It'll skip real bad. See how that's skipping? Now if you go over it several times, it'll be okay, and which you will probably do at some point. So I would say just a little bit more water on that one. If you get it too wet, then it bleeds out, and particularly if it bleeds, if you get it way too wet. Let's see how this one does. That's a lot of paint. Try to get some of this paint off of here. Okay, see, that's starting to glide pretty good. Let's see if we can get a little wetter. Oh, that's real nice right there. Doesn't skip much at all. Now, as long as I don't bleed out in a minute, we're good. Only the way to make it bleed out, now if you wanted it to bleed out, you can take the water, just clear water, and go underneath that line, and it'll bleed out, which you might want to do sometimes. And we might want to do that in here. We'll see. Okay, now the brown, I'm going to do it the same way. I'm going to thin it out. Till it flows well. Okay, let's try that. Looks like that one's trying to bleed out a bit. Oh, that's from that water underneath it. That's why it's bleeding out. Okay, let's go with the clean area here. Yeah, there it goes. That's pretty good. Now, as you're working and it starts to thicken up because it will dry out, you might want to come back and put water in there. But as soon as you hit water to the area below it, you'll see that bleed out in a minute. See how it's bleeding out? That's what will happen. That's why you definitely want to get all your water out of here, because it'll come out to a time you don't want it to. Okay, here we go with the green. Okay. So now we got the ink or the paint at the right consistency. I'm going to paint all the light areas, well, basically the whole flower. So I'll just paint the whole flower in between the lines of the Versamark. I'm going to go ahead and do all that first. And I like to work kind of fast so that the ink doesn't dry out. So I'm going to do all... Now, I don't have to go all the way into the base of the flower because those are going to be my shadows. So, but I do want to put pink in most of the areas. Try to keep your hands clean, because now since this paint has been thinned out, you can see, even if you go over your lines, you can still see where the lines were at. So don't be afraid to go over the areas. Now if you did this with a real dark color, it would not work, but with this lighter color it does, and you would want your highlights to always be lighter anyway. Okay, I'll rinse out my brush. Go ahead and do my green next. Okay. It's probably best to work in as far as your hand can reach, and then turn your piece around instead of going back and forth, because that's probably when I will get ink all over everything. Or I keep calling it ink, but paint. And I'm just kind of using this stamp image as a guide. This paint is real good about holding up to washing dough. You can even put Clorox on this paint and it will not come out. If you miss some of this dark line, don't worry about it. Probably look better if you miss some than if you put way too much, for sure, in here. When you see your ink is, or your paint is getting a little thick, just go ahead and do that water thing again. And again, test it. Make sure it's okay. And start painting again. My ink is getting a little thick. I mean, my paint. Every once in a while, you might want to leave a little bit of the pink within the image, because that little bit of pink helps separate the petals, and it just doesn't look like a big blob of brown right in the middle of it. If your lines are coming out too thick, you need to lighten up on the... If your lines are coming out too thick, it's because you're pushing down too hard. So you need to make just the tip of the brush hit the surface. So that's just the tip. And then this would be a thicker line, thinner line. And it is a good idea to vary the line. In other words, thicker in some areas, thinner in others. And like I said, even up to no line. And just let your eye do the connecting rather than painting every little line. Okay, let's see if I want some more shadows. I can, like I said, I can see through that stamp image underneath there under that pink paint. Okay, now I'm going to let this dry. A bit. Some seed beads would be real pretty on top of here. But our paint that's called Frost White looks like pearls, actually, when you put it on here. And I'm going to use that. I'm going to go ahead and use, okay, I've got a toothpick. And I'm just going to put dots. If you do 2 or 3 dots, it kind of makes different sizes of dots, so that's good. Actually, if you want to put a little this, if you don't have the shimmer in your paint and you do want some shimmer in your paint, you can put this inside that paint, I'm sure, and make it shimmery. I'll check that to make sure with this green that I'm telling you right, but I think that would be right. Okay. There's one side. Let's see if that's right. Yes. You can put that in with your paint and it will make your paint shimmer. So even if you didn't have any paint that's shimmery, you can add that to it and it will shimmer after that. Okay, well that's the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, give me a thumbs up. Thank you, and come back again. Bye-bye.